My dear people, this is Dr. Venkat. How are you? In this particular video, we are going to be looking at how to convert the societal problems that you have identified to creating an engineering solution for that. So, what is the process that you can follow to bridge between problem identification to that of creating a solution? We are also going to have Sala and Meher, two of my very good friends and colleagues, to discuss with an example on the design thinking. What is design thinking? Well, imagine you want to build a bridge across a river. One side of the river is the problem and the other side is the solution. Now, design thinking is like the bridge that helps you to travel systematically from the problem side to that of the solution side, safely and smartly. To put it more technically, I would say design thinking, especially in engineering, is a human-centered, iterative problem-solving approach which integrates elements such as creativity, empathy, and analytical rigor for you to be able to address complex societal and engineering challenges. One of the main differences between the traditional engineering approach with that of the design thinking is that the traditional approach focuses a lot on the technology. It prioritizes technological and technical feasibility, the materials available, etc. Whereas design thinking is much more human centered. It begins with understanding the user needs and the contextual constraints surrounding the user. And the starting point is the people, the community, the society who would be using those solutions and not the technology. In a way, I would say that design thinking is co-developing solutions with the society, whereas the traditional approach is much more of designing solutions for the society. By already going out and observing the society and understanding the problems, you have taken the first step in design thinking. What are the core principles? Well, the first one, as I mentioned, is that it is very human centered. It focuses on the real users, the society, the community, their experiences, their expectations, etc., rather than just the performance of a technology. This approach enables you and also it encourages you to test, modify, refine, and test again, prototype it, and create more of an iterative process rather than a linear progression. Design thinking enables you to work collaboratively not just with engineers but with designers, psychologists, social scientists, and most importantly the society and the end users. It is very experimental in nature, promoting creative risk taking, and it also embraces failure as a part of learning. With this, I'd like to introduce, there are several approaches, several models of design thinking, but two of the most popular ones are the 4-diamond, or sometimes it's even called as the double diamond model, and Stanford's model. The 4-diamond model, why don't I leave it to you to have a look at what is this particular model. We'll just look at the Stanford model, which has 5 stages: empathizing, defining, ideating, prototyping, and testing. This model was developed at Stanford University's Institute of Design, and I would say this is one of the most widely used frameworks for creative problem solving, not only in engineering but also in business management and education. It is, as I mentioned, a very human centered approach, meaning that it focuses on understanding and solving problems from the perspective of the people who are affected by the problem. Now, let us look at each of these 5 stages, shall we? The first one is empathizing. So, this is about understanding the people's need. More than understanding their needs, it's about understanding the people who are going to be using the solutions. It is about putting yourself in someone else's shoes to try to see the world from their point of view. Here, you ask questions such as, what is it that they need? What makes their life difficult? And here, we carefully observe, we watch, we interview, we converse with the people and listen to their stories, and we engage with them so that we understand not just the problem but the people who are facing the problem. This is one of the most important steps in design thinking. The second one is about defining the problem. Well, after you having listened and observed the end users or the society, what do? You have to now clearly describe what the real problem is. This step, I would say, is like drawing a map before you go on a journey. You need to know where you're going. You need to define the problem very clearly. This becomes important because anything outside the boundaries of whatever you have defined as the problem, you don't have to think about. And anything within the boundary of whatever you have defined as the problem is what you are going to be working on. By the end of this stage, you will have a clear 2 or 3 statements about what is the problem. Some of the statements might be something like, how might we make waste disposal easier for people with limited mobility? How to increase gender representation in engineering? How can we eliminate homelessness in Tampere city? How can we increase online banking safety for elderly people? How might we reduce bullying in school, especially for transgender people? Do you see what I mean by clearly defining the problem? The next stage is about creating as many ideas as possible for solving the problem. This is a very fun and creative part. You brainstorm with lots of people in lots of different ways to solve this problem. Even really wild, funny blue sky ideas are going to be wonderful. In this stage, my dear people, there are no wrong answers. The more ideas you have, the better. The aim, I would say, is to explore all the possibilities before narrowing them down. Let us say you have 2 or 3 different ideas. Why don't you think of combining these 3 good ideas into one idea? That could be interesting as well. The next stage is prototyping. This is when you try to build a model and make your solution tangible. Well, once you have a great idea, a combined idea, all that you do is you make a simple version of it as a prototype. It doesn't need to be perfect, my dear people. It can be made from cardboard, clay, or even paper. The goal is to show how it might work so that others can understand and test it. You have to remember these are not final products but quick, low cost ways to test how an idea might work in real life. In this stage, you test your model with real users, your friends, teachers, or family, or even with some of the people affected by the problem. Well, but then I would say it is safer, much safer for you to try it out with your friends or family. What you have to do is you have to watch how they use the solution that you have created. Ask what it is that they like and what it is that they found difficult to use. Then what do? You try to fix it. You create another idea or another prototype and then ask them to use it again based on whatever you have learned and their feedback. This is how the iterative process shows itself. You have to remember this stage often loops back because now that you have some new insights, these might lead to redefining the problem or even generating new ideas, etc. Overall, my dear people, design thinking, I would say, is like being a creative detective of engineering and also an inventor at the same time. You discover what people need, imagine new ideas, and build real solutions. To discuss this with a real life problem, we are going to join Sala and Meher. Let's welcome them, shall we? My dear people, we all have some friend or a family member or someone that we know who has learning difficulties, including autism, ADHD, etc. What if we can provide a technology-based solution, something to make their everyday life easier? This, my dear people, is an important element of social justice. Now, rather than creating one engineering solution, Meher and his team conducted a 2 or 3 days event called Hack Artathon, as they call it, in which they brought together people with ADHD, therapists, psychologists, engineering practitioners, and students, both from engineering and from school, and for all of them to work together to identify the issues that people with ADHD face and to create a solution, not for them, but with them. And this particular activity yielded so many different research opportunities, created many problem statements, and they attempted to produce solutions for them. This is wonderful. Let us talk with Meher to know more about it, shall we? Meher, welcome to our lecture series. Meher, let us map the Stanford's model of design thinking with what you did at the Hack Artathon, shall we? Can you please let us know the first stage, empathizing? How did that play a role in this particular event?
So I think very recently only people started understanding the difficulties of ADHD or their day-to-day struggles, and so everyone's normal will be very different, no? And then so we were thinking like how we can actually create a more inclusive society that works for everyone. So this was like an initial idea. So right now I'm sitting at Thinkerspace, one of its kind hacker makerspace in India. But most of the time when hackathons are happening, that would be from one point of view. So technology students, young people who are having access to technology, so they try to think about a problem and then they try to come up with solutions. So mostly the focus was on building that solution part than thinking or internalizing or empathizing deeply about this problem. So what we did is we actually invited people, uh, first those who are having ADHD and therapists, psychologists and psychiatrists, and then technology makers. So there were around 60 of us spending 2 days together. And then the first a few sessions, like there were like 1 or 2 session around the challenges and like what is actually ADHD, and then what is the kind of experience that people with ADHD goes through. And so this was the first, and then we asked everyone who are part of the discussion and who are having some sort of an ADHD in order to write down some of their challenges, their day-to-day realities or their lived experiences. So that's where we started the whole exercise.
That is really interesting. By trying to understand their daily life, asking them to describe their lived experiences would have given you a wealth of data. Yeah. So now, how did you use this wealth of data to go to the next stage, which is defining the problem?
So the after we were having a bit understanding of what is ADHD and then asking about these problem statements, so we have given them 3 sticky notes and asking them like write down 3 problem statements or 3 challenges that you are having at the moment. And all of them actually written down their problem statements. And we have actually classified. So there was this wall you can see on the top. So we have written 6 different categories on each glass wall. So it was like around say relationships. It was around and work or study, daily function, emotional regulation slash stress, and then there was like one miscellaneous. So once everyone written down their problem statement, uh, so then they could go to this wall and they could see which this particular problem statement, which category it might belong. So then they can go and stick it there. So after everyone now done their parts, there was maybe say 10, 15 problem statements in each different categories. And then what happened is like there were like so then we asked people which category that you want to work deeply on. So they could choose one of the category, and every category there will be one therapist or like psychiatrist as a leader, like maybe enabling leading this conversation or like giving the space for everyone. So one of the category, for example, relationship. So they might have 15 different problem statements. So they came to this room. So they were sitting together. They were discussing each and every ideas or problem statements. And then they were able to club some of the together. So this one and that one is like slightly like a closer. So then they were able to come up that bring that problem statements to say 2 or 3 similar problem statement.
This is really interesting, Meher, because instead of just creating one problem statement, you classified them into separate categories in terms of the challenges in everyday life, relationship, work, etc. And each of that section will have a set of problem statements. This is really nice. And especially you mentioning that they will be working in interdisciplinary groups ensures everyone gets a rich experience and understanding of each other's perspective. Can you please let us know how did you go to the next stage, which is ideating?
Sure. So once they have 2, 3 problem statements from that consolidated from the like 15, 20 problem statements, so then they were going very deep into different problem statements like that 2, 3 that they came up with, and then they were thinking like okay, which are the ones? So right now we are using tech as a like a medium at the moment. So in that case, which of the problem statements can be like a solved using a part of technology as well, because like some of the things might need a community support. So right now we are focusing creating tech based solutions, right? So in that moment onwards we started having thoughts around okay, this problem can be solved in different possibilities, but right now we have access to tech as well. So then which are the problem statement that we can leverage tech and solve in a better way? So then I think from each group, there might be, say, 1 or 2 solutions that they came up with. Okay, for example, productivity. How do you how do you create a typical to-do list app won't work for people who are having ADHD. So then can you create a tool or a system or a process that could help somebody with ADHD to get their work done easily? There are like a large number of ways to do like a this to-do list thing. It can be an offline thing. It can be like a chart. It can be maybe one of your friend calling and asking you. That also can work. But we eventually figured out creating a. There was not much of applications or digital applications that can be used or leveraged by somebody who's having ADHD, because like they said that their brain doesn't work like us. Like
Mm.
we can just go and write down, I need to do this thing, maybe write this paper. That is good enough for us. That those who are neurotypical, but somebody who's having ADHD, they might need to convince themselves again why you need to do this. So one of the examples was like they were able to figure out was like they were like once you are trying to add a problem statement, they will ask you why, and then why, and then why. So once you could actually see there that because you wanted to maybe get a promotion, or you want to go to this place, so that's why you need to do this action. So then it will convince them
Mm.
more later on. It's not very hard for us, but yeah. That was one of the solutions that they actually came up with. Other problem statement was like uh, there are like even inside ADHD or even neurodiversity divergence, there is like a large number of other problems as well, and different kind of therapies work for different kind of scenarios as well. So now, typically, it's really hard for people to say switch from one therapist to another therapist, and it might maybe and then you need to start all of your stories again. So it typically takes more maybe an year to like restart to the level where we are. So they were thinking like Glassdoor or something. Is there any way for that you to figure out what is the kind of person that you want to talk to and who are the right kind of people to figure out?
Oh, fantastic. Um, what were some of the ideas for solving this particular problem that, if you could remember?
In order to create a solution for how do we figure out the right kind of person to talk to, I think a bunch of therapists as well, like, and then people who are having challenges. So they actually wrote down a roadmap sort of a thing in the sense like in which kind of scenarios, what is the kind of person that they should be meeting. So first they made this roadmap sort of a thing. And then we thought like we will create a small database of therapists that we already knew. And so that was the first step in order to write down that is in paper and everything. And then we connected that with some sort of AI models, like say ChatGPT or something. So eventually it became like a ChatGPT kind of interface where you come and tell, I have this kind of problem, I have this kind of problems, and they might ask you a few more questions as well. So then the tool will eventually will help you figure out what is the kind of expertise that you might be required, like in the sense like from your therapist side, and who are the some people that you can actually get connected with.
Ah, this is really interesting. Thanks a lot, Meher. Meher, did you have the opportunity in the Heart Hackathon to prototype and test?
So earlier, tech was the bottleneck because like even if you are having ideas, it was really hard to produce. But at the moment, without writing single line of code as well, you could actually create solutions. So it's called vibe coding. But we had people who know how to code as well. So there was like a bunch of solutions. Like on, I think we took 2 hours to do all the presentation because everyone had different kind of working prototypes and they were actually showing the solutions. Out of which I want to like I one another example that I haven't mentioned till now was one of my favorite. It was more like an art installation. It's called Focus Breaker 3000 and the ADHD simulator. So one of the problem statements, in the sense we were initially discussing was like, how do I tell my mom that I had ADHD? How do I make her feel that I had ADHD? So this particular the solution created was, you will wear a headset, there will be a screen, and there will be instructions coming to your head, like a voice, like maybe go to that. There will be a screen, like, and then it will ask you to write your name or like click that button 5 times and things like that. But slowly it increases its speed. To some point of time, it would be really so much of noise in our head, we couldn't actually concentrate or do anything, because like so much of information or instructions are coming. So it could be an installation that those who are not having ADHD know to feel that what is happening inside somebody is having an ADHD. This was a great installation. Yeah, this was one of the like a working prototype or like a working thing came out of the whole exercise.
Thanks a lot, Meher, for joining us on this lecture series. And hopefully, we are going to be hearing more from you in the other lectures. So, thank you. Thanks a lot.